substantiated allegations, it has been determined that the actions do constitute a serious breach and serious misconduct. So unfortunately, I do have to let you know that your employment will be terminated from today.
What? Seriously?
Yeah, look, that is the outcome that has been determined. Okay, so look, I appreciate that it's obviously not the outcome that you were looking for, and it is a lot to take on.
I was not expecting that. I was not expecting that at all. I thought I have such a good support person. I have such a good advocate in Rowan. I'm really shocked.
Yeah, look, I completely understand that.
I'm dumbfounded.
Okay, and like I said, I do know it's a lot to take on board, and I understand that it's not the outcome that you were wanting or perhaps even thought could be possible from the process.
I really didn't think that would be possible.
Okay. Well, look, like I said, I do have correspondence which confirms that outcome for you in writing, and obviously I will have to let our payroll team know that that is what needs to happen.
So, the results are in. Fired, ladies and gentlemen. Fired. Who'd have thunk it? Who'd have thunk it? I thought I got him. I thought I had everything I've used in the past. Everything I've used in the past when I've gotten in trouble at work. You know, I had manipulation with the miscarriage. Manipulation. You know, I had, this is my partner, this is who I have to support, an intellectually disabled man. I had the office went up to 49 degrees. I don't think things can actually get up to 49. I don't even know if that's a thing. Maybe 49. I subtly hinted that possibly that was the reason for me and Rowan's miscarriage, and still fired, ladies and gentlemen. I don't see, like, it's always worked in the past. I remember one time I was at a job, and I'll tell you a really good excuse I had, was actually, I told them I had a stalker. I told my work, my old work, that I had a stalker. Now, a stalker is a really good way to get out of work because you can bring it back. You can bring it back in 2 years' time. You can bring it back 4 months' time. You can keep going. Oh, it's the stalker. He's back. The AVO is done. You can keep, he sent me a weird letter. Now I'm mentally distressed. You know, and because I'm a social worker, I've always worked with pathetically empathic people. So it's always worked. So I was really surprised when I got fired. You know? Really fucking surprised. And you know what then I had to do? I had to fucking go to Cairns. I had to wake up at 3 a.m. for a flight because I told the guy in Cairns when I was obsessed with the 12 steps, when I became a militant 12-stepper, the guy who ran the show in Cairns, I felt like I had to make amends to him for being rude back in 2018. So I had to go to Cairns to make amends. I planned on staying at the airport, and I didn't. I got to, and I was like, oh, it looks a bit uncomfortable. I don't think I can stay at the airport. I ended up staying at a backpackers, just kind of like the first backpackers I saw. I didn't realize that it was on top of a nightclub. Actually, it was a nightclub. It was a backpackers and a nightclub. So then the night I was trying to have a restful slumber before my 6 a.m. flight, my whole body was just vibrating from the dubstep downstairs. So this is my new reality. This is the aftermath or the fog of war, you know? But huge comedy sacrifice. I think it was worth it. So donate to my Patreon, because who has ever... I've actually realized since doing that, people actually take their jobs very seriously. I didn't know that. I didn't... They were like, I can't believe you did that. And it's like, don't you fucking hate HR? Like, don't you... They're like, oh, did you actually do that? Was that not an act? Like, no. I just don't care about my job. I just don't really give a shit about it, you know? But, you know, yeah, so, like, and I went to Cairns because I wanted to make because, like, 6 months ago, I was real militant into these fucking 12 steps. Militant. And now I couldn't really give a shit anymore. So, you know, but I'm still living in the fucking aftermath of my fucking... Because the thing about me is I'm an extremist. I'm fucking extremist. You know? Like, give me a preacher who's fucking charismatic enough and I'll agree. I'll agree. You know, like if I was young living in the Middle East, I would have joined ISIS. I would probably join ISIS now if I saw a video that I could understand with a charismatic enough leader. I'd be like, Allah Akbar it is then. Alrighty then. Yep. You know, they'd be like, oh, women, if they dress slutty, they deserve to be raped. I was like, oh, fuck. That's why it happened. That's why, oh my God, I've been trying to it's because I was dressed slutty, fuck. I just never thought of it from that perspective before. I never thought of it. Oh my God. This puts everything in perspective. You know, that's what I'm like. But then I'll just get over it. You know, then I'll just like stop caring about it because I'll get like interested in something new. You know, and then they'll be, but like, you know, I'll be like, it's like, oh, you have to have 3 men witness you getting raped. In countries that have Sharia law, you have to have 3 men witness you get raped until anyone will kind of like believe you. Which I kind of wish 3 men had seen me get raped. I mean, like, you know, because then no one would ever question it. You know? I'd be like, 3 open mic comedians actually saw me go. I could probably at this point, though, because I've gotten a lot of respect within the comedy community. I've gotten a lot of respect. Like, I had to, like, I'll go into that later. But, like, I got a lot of respect from the comedy community with all this Doug love and blah, 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 you know? And so I'm getting a lot of respect. And I reckon I could probably convince 3 open micers to say that they saw me got raped. And I reckon then, like, we could put the fucker in jail, you know? And no one would be like, these 3 open micers actually saw the whole thing. I mean, that should be the rule. Maybe that should be the rule of female comedians making rape accusations. It has actually 3 open micers have to see you get raped before we believe you on the scene. You know. So there's that. You know. What did I just say? I'd go back to. Yeah. But I'm getting a lot of respect. I've never had respect before. I've only ever been degraded terribly. So it's a lot of getting used to, you know. And actually, like, I went, like, I don't know, like, I'm, like, just, like some people, like, some open micers traveled, drove, 4 hours just to, like, hang out with me. You know, and I didn't even know, like, it was, like, kind of like a, I just didn't really, like, know, like, what was going on. Like, I was just fucking, like, obsessed with my podcast, you know? I was just fucking obsessed with my podcast. And I knew that I was in, like, this group chat. And, like, you know, and then, and they were coming up to Brisbane. But, like, I just, like, didn't pay much attention to it, you know? And we're doing some, like, show about, like, sex work. But really, I think they just, like, drove like 4 hours to just come and like meet me, you know? But like under the guise of like, oh yeah, we want to do a show about sex work because like we think that you'll have like a really like interest, like everyone thinks I'm going to have like an interesting perspective on sex. Like I think even maybe like everyone thinks I'm going to have like this interesting perspective on sex work, on prostitution, you know? Like I don't. Like I don't have any opinion about it. I don't have an opinion, you know, but I think they want me to do this show because they think I'm going to be like an advocate. But bro, I just think like bring us back to when hookers were crack whores. That's what I want. Like remember when remember when prostitutes were fucking crack whores? You know, like now they have Instagram, you know? And they're complaining about cultural appropriation. You know, but what they don't realize is that, bitch, you're appropriating my culture. Crackhead culture. Okay, you can't do this job. No, you're appropriating girls who got raped by their dad's culture, bitch. You can't do this job and have a non-sexual relationship with your father. Piece of shit. No, I'm joking. I wasn't raped by my dad. He didn't do that. You know, well, not that I remember, but like, you know, but I did actually, to my ex-partner at one point to stop him screaming at me. I did actually say to him, like, cause I just wanted to stop him like screaming at me. He was just screaming at me. So I just shouted, oh, well, it's because I'm emotionally unstable because my dad raped me. That was what I said. Stop him screaming. And it did. It stopped the screaming. So ladies, if you want your fucking boyfriend to stop screaming at you, it fucking works, bruh. Fucking works. You know? And so I just wanted him to like stop screaming at me. And then like, but then I couldn't sit in the lie. I couldn't sit in the lie of, because it's a very extreme lie. You know? So like 3 days later, I kind of just had to be like, hey babe, look, my dad didn't rape me. I just don't really know like why I just wanted you to stop screaming at me or something like that. I don't know. It's like 21. So I don't know. But when I came out with the allegations, he actually, was like, you know, she lied about her own dad raping her. And then a bunch of like other bullshit that I can't really remember. But I do remember he said, oh, he lied about it and this and this and blah, blah, blah. You know, but I do remember he lied about her dad raping her. And I was like, okay, that's true. Yeah, that one's true. But he said her own father raping her. And I was like, come on, don't say like my own father. I didn't know him that well. You know, I didn't know him that well. That was kind of how I justified it to myself at the time. I was like, I didn't know him that well. Like, you know, he fucking fucked off when I was 7 to go and do drugs in Southeast Asia. And then I never saw him again. And then he died of alcoholism a few years later. And then he died of alcoholism a few years later. And his body was found maybe a week after that. You know, so I wasn't too close to the guy. You know, I hadn't talked to him since I was 7. I was probably like 21 at the time. So like, I was just like, oh, well, like, you know, it's not like my own father. Come on, he's just like some dude. Anyway, you know, so yeah. And I have this show, my show Western Girl. It's coming up on the 22nd of June. We're doing a filming of it, a good chat. It's a fucking 12-step show because I wrote it 6 months ago when I was obsessed with the 12 steps and now I'm having to fucking tour it. I don't care about the 12 steps anymore. I don't care about it. You know, I just want to smoke weed with my friends, bro. I want to smoke weed with my friends. You know? But it's interesting because I have started smoking weed with my friends, and it's interesting how quickly you turn into a piece of shit. I have so quickly just turned into a piece of shit. You know, like suddenly, you know, I wake up And I'm messaging a guy being like, yo, you gotta remember that 160, you owe me 160 for the weed, and then I don't hear from him again. I fucking got like minus in my account because I fucking chose to give this guy was like, oh, give me $160 so I can buy some weed. And then I was like, oh, well, I want some weed. So I sent him $160, even though I just lost my job because I just let an intellectually disabled man advocate for my job back. But, I wanted to fucking sesh, and I'm a piece of shit now, basically. So, but yeah, so quickly I've turned into a piece of shit, So I'm like, fucking got minus in my account, fucking waiting for a guy to pay me back for that sesh the other night, fucking, and then I go and have a sesh with my severely autistic friend Richie in the park, and I'm like smoking a bong in the park, and I'm just like kind of like looking over the ocean, just listening to Richie talk about his autistic shit, and I'm just like, smoking cones, and a lady and her baby come up. A lady and her baby came into the park where I was smoking weed. And I looked and I was like, oh shit, a baby's here. And, I was just like, all right, just act natural. And I was like, come on, Sean, you can't like smoke a bong like while a baby is there, But that didn't last too long in my brain. I was kind of like, she's actually like taking a while to leave now. I kind of like want a bong, So I just was like, oh, I probably shouldn't, but yeah. And then I just started smoking a bong, like right in front of like this woman and like her baby, And then I actually heard like the baby started crying, and then to cancel out the sound of the baby crying, I just smoked another bong while the baby was crying. And then she fucked off. And, I was justifying it to myself. I was like, that lady's a fucking idiot. You're allowed to smoke weed in public. It's like legal for medical purposes. So I've become like every single cunt in the medical marijuana clinic. I'm not a yoga mum. I smoke bongs in front of yoga mums and their babies. That's what I am. So... yeah, and I was like, and then even the guy next to me, even my autistic friend Richie, is justifying it to himself. He's like, well, it's a public place, so you can do what you want, Sean. It was actually a really good sesh right across the river. I've missed that shit. Oh my god, I have missed that shit. So I guess I'm like California sober now. I'm like Selena Gomez. I was actually listening to the Selena Gomez song on California Sober to like convince me that it was like fine to smoke weed. I don't know if anyone's heard that song. Should we play it? No, I don't want to offend anyone with that kind of music. Yeah. So, but yeah. Because I'm over it now. I was smoking bongs. Yeah, this is how quickly weed has turned me into a piece of shit. Like I was smoking bongs at like this guy's place and like this other like open micer's place. And because I'm like kind of like a pro comic, however you define that, open micers like fucking like if they're like militant like comedy fans, like they really are into me, So I'm, and like the only people in my life, and so like I'm hanging out like with a lot of open micers right now because a lot of them are also like just fucking losers and pieces of shit who smoke weed, So I'm like smoking weed at like this guy's place who's just like an open mic guy, like don't even know the cunt's name. I'm just like smoking weed at his house, and his housemate is like just some fucking like intellectually disabled guy. But he also, and it's not Rowan, it's just some other like intellectually disabled open micer, and I don't know him either, but this guy is like fucking worshipping me, this intellectually disabled, I don't know if he's like there's something, he's crazy, he's a nut job, anyway, but he was just like, yeah, he was there, so I'm just like smoking weed at like these two guys' houses who I fucking don't know, and I'm just smoking, and the housemate's like, I've got a fucking intellectual disability. Like, so fast I'm turning into a piece of shit. But they fucking worship me, man. They worship me. I'll drop water. Like, I drop the bong water, like, on the couch. I dropped the bong water on the couch. You know, got it everywhere. It fucking stank. And I'd actually disrespected the intellectually disabled open micer. I said, I don't want to talk to you about comedy because, like, you don't understand it. Because I was just being a bit of an arrogant cunt. I did say sorry to him. I did say sorry. And I shouted him a sesh because I made amends. You know, but I'd already disrespected this, like, intellectually disabled open micer, you know? And then I spilt bong water all over his couch. And I was like, oh, sorry. And then he was like, it's all right. Get up. Get up. You know, get up. It's fine. He got me a better seat. And then he just sat in the bong water on the couch. He just sat in it. You know? And then he had to and I didn't really know that when I kind of like disrespected this guy, I didn't know how much it hurt him. You know, he actually called my friend Shane because he needed comforting over the situation. I don't know what Shane said to him, but apparently he needed comforting with the situation, you know. And so the Shane, I think I mentioned him in the first episode. He put us on hiatus, 2-week hiatus. So I've got put, and this week I got put on a 2-day hiatus. 2-day hiatus. And he told me I had to listen to this book, this audio book. And I was like, all right. And I didn't really so I just listened to it. And then I realized this is about raising a child. Why do I have to read this book on raising a child? It's called Parenting from the Inside Out, and it has blown Shane's mind, you know? So Shane has told me, because me and Shane are both two very obsessive people. We are we both would have joined ISIS if we'd lived in the Middle East. We are the most obsessive people you'll ever meet. So Shane, who says that we can't be codependent anymore, has told me that learning how to raise children and healing our inner child has to be our new obsession. It has to be. So Shane's gone from codependent to just completely dependent. You know, he's like, Sean, we're going to start DBT. So I'm starting DBT therapy with Shane. Shane said I have to start it with him. And this has to be what we're obsessed about. And we're going to be doing shows about it. And we're going to be touring with it. And we're going to have a podcast on DBT. And absolutely everything in our life is going to be about DBT. I'm like, this sounds pretty codependent, Shane. This sounds pretty codependent. You know? So that's where we're at now. So I don't know if Shane... I don't know why I have to read a book about how to raise I think he's worried I'm going to be a bad mum. I don't know. But, you know, I don't know. Like Shane also went out to this, dinner, this, kind of these Byron Bay, open micers, drove all the way up to, hang out with us. And he also was there, you know. And then this other, open micer came a bit late, and she drove really, really super fast because this girl really wanted to meet me. She really fucking wanted to meet me. I heard her on the phone being like, I'm late, and I was like, look, I'm gonna leave, because I just thought it was a hang, and I was like, look, I'm just gonna leave because I just wanted to smoke weed in Toowoomba with my autistic friend Richie, because I've already turned into a piece of shit. And you know, she was like, I'm just gonna leave. And then I just heard her on the phone being like, oh, no, I really wanted to meet Sean. I really, really wanted to meet Sean, you know. And she came, and the minute I saw her, I was like I fucking, she was way prettier than me. And Shane made a comment being like, oh, she looks like you, but she looks like the version of you that had stable parents, you know. And I was like, fuck this bitch. Fuck this bitch who loves me. Fuck this bitch who donates to the Patreon. She donates to my Patreon, you know? And, you know, and she was perfect, man. This bitch was fucking, she just looked like perfection. you know? And then she even outdoes herself, which, like, you know, she's like, we can't do the show for another 2 months, this sex work show that I fucking don't care about. And she's like, we have to do this sex work show in another 2 months because I'm going to Nepal on Friday to help people with leprosy. Like, who are you, bitch? Princess Diana? No, of course she's perfect. Of course she's going to fucking Nepal to help fucking people in poverty with fucking leprosy. Of course, you know? So this bitch is just like absolutely like all over me. And all I'm thinking is like, you're my competition. Get away from me. You know? So, you know, my friendship group is breaking up. I'm a stoner now. I've lost my job. And yeah. So where do we go from here? You know, where do we go from here? I've had 100 ideas of what I could do with this podcast. You know, I got passionate about this podcast, you know, the same way that if I grew up in the Middle East, I would have got passionate about Sharia law. I got passionate about this podcast, you know. I was like, I don't care if I'm going to go to jail from the podcast. I'll just record the podcast from jail. Who's done that? Who's recorded a podcast from jail, Alex? Who? Tell me.
No,
mention
there's that
you.
friend of Doug's that records a podcast from jail.
There's a friend of Doug's who records a podcast. Who are they? Is it Olivia Grace?
No, some dude who accidentally killed his girlfriend.
Oopsies. Oh my God. Oopsies. I didn't know that. I didn't know. Some cunt. Oh, fuck. I'm a hack. Fuck. That's a good end, bro. I did not know. He accidentally killed it. Whoopsies.
He was about to kill himself, and his girlfriend walked in on him, and the gun went off, and yeah.
Oh. Bro. Oh my God. He was probably killing the reason he needed to kill himself. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, isn't everything so tragic? So, yeah, I was like, oh, we could call up, because my sponsor from NA, like, he's kind of like a bit like, I love him. He's very cool, but he's a bit creepy. You know, like he told me like how big his dick was. And he told me, yeah, you know, he was like we were in the car together, and he was like, this was like one of the first times I was hanging out with him. He was like, man, if a girl came up to me right now and asked if she could fuck me, I'd say yes. You know, so I was like, oh my God, you know what we should do? I should have phone sex with my sponsor on the podcast. I should do that. I'll have phone sex on the podcast. You know, I told that plan to Doug though, and he was like, Sian, I don't think people will trust you if you do that. So we can't just keep fucking with people. You know, so where do we go from here? I want to find romance. You know, I'm looking for a boyfriend. You know, I can, and all I'm going to say is I can't write 2 DV shows. So I've been a bit worried because I can be very open and like blah, 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 like, oh, this is how he fucked me. I fucked this open micer, like blah, 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 you know, and I could, you know, so I'm looking for a boyfriend, and I fear that maybe my openness about everything is maybe one reason I'm struggling to find a mate. That and absolutely everything else about me. You know, so all I'm going to say to any listeners, any men that might be interested, is I can only write 1 DV show. So that'll be a big secret if you do that. Hush. I can only write 1. Can't have 2 DV shows. Plus, I'm over that idea. I'm over it. You know? So that's all I'm going to say. The standards are low and I can't have 2 DV shows. You know? I just want to find romance. You know? So, and I don't want, like, and I'm doing a split bill. I'm doing the thing I talked about in the first podcast again, how I fucked that how I fucked my opener. And I'm kind of doing that again in Newcastle. I'm doing a split bill with a comic, but it's only because I want to fuck him. Honestly. No, I'm joking. I am in the mood for romance, though. I am in the mood for romance. So we'll see where that goes. We'll see what happens with that. We were going to be like, oh, could I push it in like a romance way? Could I push a podcast in a romance way? I don't know. What else could we do? What else could we do that's as crazy as having an intellectually disabled man advocate for my job back? Send ideas. So I'll leave you folks on that. And thank you so much for calling in to the Uncancellable Sian Smyth podcast. Love you lots. Donate to the Patreon. I lost my job. You motherfuckers better. Do you know? That was a fucking masterpiece. And that was a comedy sacrifice.
Do you want to hang out ever? And just have a chat about this?
This is the discussion that we're having right now in terms of the advice relative to the outcome of the investigation. So I'm giving you all the information that I have in terms of those substantiated allegations and from that the outcome of the investigation process. So in terms of the employment relationship, like I said, it is concluding today. I will send through that letter and our internal relevant parties have been notified in terms of payroll. It would be very likely that that payment will be made to you on Tuesday, okay? All right. Look, I wish you all the very best for the future. I'll send through this correspondence, and should you have any questions, you're welcome to get back in touch, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Take care. Thanks, Sean.
Bye.